The Blues were practicing with some line combinations that I was a huge fan of today, and I cannot wait to talk to you about it here on Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And a happy Tuesday, October 1st. Yes, it is October 1st, which means that it is the best sports month because we get regular season hockey back. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about some line combos that I'm a huge fan of. Another rant about Dvorsky because I saw some comments and I just want to continue my conversation about him. And 1 week from today, the St. Louis Blues play regular season hockey against the Seattle. It is a day game, but it is the first game of the NHL season amongst all the NHL teams. So obviously, I am very excited about that, and I cannot wait for next Tuesday. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off your first purchase. I hope everybody is having a great day today. The St. Louis Blues take on the Columbus Blue Jackets tonight for one of their final preseason games. But the combinations that I saw, people on the beat reporting today at practice were really exciting to me. So Lou posted during morning skates today that in the first line, Robert Thomas was centering. To his left, it's Neighbors, and to his right, it's Kyrou. I am a huge fan of this one. This was probably one of my favorite line combos that we saw a little bit of last season. I do think that Kyrou and Thomas really complement each other, and I think Jake Neighbors does excel in the first line. With the second line, we have centering Bush, to his left, Balduke, and to his right, Shen. Now, this one took me by a little bit of surprise, right? Because I know that not all the guys are going to play in tonight's game, like Holloway, and I get that. But that kind of works, right? Balduke, Bush, and Shen. I like that. Then you have the third line, Walker centering, and I know that won't be happening during, the regular season. It might, but I just see Walker as a fourth line type of player. However, that line combo is Walker centering, then to the left, Texier, and then to the right, Torpochenko. Then finally, you have the fourth line with Zach Dean centering. Then you have Brandon Saad to the left and Kasperi Kapanen to the right. Now, we did talk about Brandon Saad yesterday, and we talked about how his wife is going to be due any moment. So I think it's one of those things where, you kind of have to expect for him not to be on this road trip. Not because of any other reason than the fact that he wants to be there for the birth of his child. And I gave you the quote that he said yesterday about it, and it sounded very professional, very hockey-like, terms for the birth of his child. However, I just am going to assume that he won't be there, but I do like that line combo. Then let's go talk about some defense. So we have Philip Broberg and Justin Folk. Now, obviously, when it comes to the first pair, you're going to obviously have Colton Parayko, right? But for, all funds and games and whatever, you're going to have different combos, right? Okay. Then you have Suter and Joseph. I do like that one. Then you have a combo that I am used to seeing a lot, maybe in Springfield more than the Blues, but you have Tyler Tucker and Scott Perunovich in net tonight. Benner gets a start and Hofer. But these are combos that scream to me this is more NHL than AHL. While you do have a couple players that might be sent down, maybe a Tyler Tucker, even looking at this, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say sent down, but maybe you won't be seeing a Walker play or a Torpochenko play. Maybe Dean doesn't always play, but I do think this is more of an NHL looking roster for tonight. It's funny. With preseason games, we talk about this a lot, how the games don't necessarily matter, like the outcome of the games. However, now that the Blues, they have a couple more games left until regular season. Again, it is in 1 week from today. I think there is an aspect of we need to prepare. We need to get ready for the regular season. And, Coach Bannister talked about this and said, hey, yeah, we're going to be playing more NHL-looking lines these next couple games. The first few games of preseason, well, majority of the preseason games, are just to see if any maybe of the AHL guys are standing out, give the juniors a chance to see what they can do. But now this is business. Now this is, hey, we got some regular season hockey to play. We need to be prepared, and we need to go out against Seattle and set the tone early on. So I think that this is a more competitive roster to make. Natika Alexandrov actually did get sent down to the Thunderbirds. And, I'm happy that, they ended up signing him and all that. I just think that this roster this season is going to be more difficult to get on. And I think that even seeing these line combos, I mean, it's so funny to me. Well, not funny, like haha funny. But Doug Armstrong did say heading into training camp that he could see Zach Bolduc as a top 6 forward. And then obviously tonight you have Bolduc, then you have I'm so used to saying Captain Braden Shen in that spot. Then you have Bush, and then you have Captain Braden Shen. So playing on that second line with those guys, it makes me kind of wonder, is this the spot for him? But then you have to remember that there's a Dylan Holloway, and there's all these other factors that come into play. Isn't that weird when you're so used to a line combo being like kind of the same, and then all of a sudden it switches up and you're just like, oh, yeah, no, Captain Braden Shen won't be centering, but yes, I wasn't crazy because for, however long we're doing this podcast, that's always been his position, second line center, but, things change. However, I do like that first combo a lot. Again, Neighbors, Thomas, Kyrou. I love that. I could see that being probably what the first line is going to be. If I had to predict, I wouldn't really tweak that. I really do like it. I think Jake Neighbors really solidified himself last season. And I don't necessarily see a reason for the Blues to say, hey, we don't want to do this. Now, the power play units were quite interesting. So here's the thing about the power play. You have Neighbors, right? Then you have Kyrou, Bush, and Thomas. And then defensively, you have Justin Folk. Now, when Torrey Krug got injured, a big conversation piece that I brought on this podcast was, well, who's going to replace Torrey Krug on the power play? And I gave 2 names. I said Scott Perunovich or Justin Folk. So I do like this one a lot. The second power play unit, you have Saad. Then you have Shen, Texier, and Bolduc. Then you have Perunovich defensively. So for me, at least, I really do enjoy it. I do think that it's all right. I know that there's going to be some people questioning, what's going on, with the power play units. And the thing, too, is, and at least for tonight with Shenny and Texier, I mean, Shen obviously has played center a lot. He's very good on the faceoff. So if anything happens where, Texier just isn't at that level yet, I'm sure Captain Braden Shen can step in. However, I do like those units. I think with Natika, though, I kind of want to touch on this for another moment, too, about going to, the Thunderbirds. I think, and this is what I'm going to segue into with the Dvorsky conversation again, but I think it just shows that the Blues have a plan and they kind of see where their, roster, where their lineup is going to be at. So at least in my head, I think that, you have to factor in a guy like Holloway. Where's he going to be? But I do think that majority of what we're seeing tonight, I would not be surprised if we see it again in the final preseason game. And finally, 1 week from today against the Seattle Kraken, I am very confident in saying that first line is going to be the first line we see then. That's my bold prediction. Maybe not a bold prediction, but definitely a prediction that I could see it coming true because they do play 2 more preseason games. I want to say yes. So tonight is the Blue Jackets. Thursday, they're at Dallas, and then they're home on Saturday against the Blackhawks. So tonight is one, and they have 2 others, so 3 preseason games in a week before, the regular season on Tuesday. So I expect more cuts to happen tomorrow. I just expect them to have an NHL-ready roster probably by tomorrow or they wouldn't do it the day of, so probably tomorrow or Thursday, but I could 100% see the Blues doing that. So we have a lot to discuss because I still want to touch a little bit on Dvorsky and some more thoughts and feelings about that one because I know how things got the last time we talked about him. But I do want to talk to you about FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Now, one thing that I absolutely love about FanDuel is that feature where you can bet in the middle of the game. And I always like to look ahead, right? So last week, I'm going to admit, I kind of messed up. Not only did some of my bets not hit, your girl forgot to switch her fantasy team because some players were out. So I was kind of down bad. But FanDuel allows me to kind of remind myself that, hey, even if the game began unlike fantasy, you can still make some changes, whatever, right? So Falcons, Bucks this Thursday, kicking off week 5. I am going to take the Buccaneers in this one. They're at home. They had a great game this past weekend, which I saw a lot of. If you know, you know. So yeah, I would take the Bucks money line, and you can always make that decision as the game is going on. Whew, St. Louis, baby. I had an episode yesterday of Locked On Blues, and I talked about Dvorsky. Because if you didn't know, if you live under a rock, Dvorsky is being sent. Well, he's already down there with Springfield. And I got some comments on this that kind of need to touch on. So Brian says Dvorsky needs to be in the top 6. If he can't do that here, it's the right move. Let him dominate in the AHL, come up late season. I really hate to see a scoring prospect hole away with scrubbers for 11 minutes a night. So I really like what he had to say in a sense. But here's the thing. While, yes, eventually we do want to see Dvorsky be a top 6 player, and I'm not denying that. I mean, that's what, he was kind of projected to be. I wouldn't be upset maybe if he played on the third line too, just for the sole purpose of he would be able to contribute positively to, the third line, maybe even fourth line, right? However, what I will say is this, there's really not any spots he could take, I would say, on the top 6 at the moment with his age. And I hate to say lack of experience, but I mean, he's only played in juniors. He hasn't played, in the NHL or even the AHL. So while it is frustrating, and I sense the frustration from the fan base, I really do, because I feel it too. This is the right move for him. This is the move that's going to allow him to grow as a player, develop as a player, and then eventually come up here in St. Louis. Now, I did say in yesterday's episode, hey, I could totally see him coming up during the middle end of the season. I'm getting some games in. So that's definitely possible. But at the same time, it can be frustrating, right? So another comment says, this is from Spoon Fudge, interesting name. For most of the preseason, he looked like a kid playing with men. He needs to strengthen his upper body. He gets pushed off the puck too often, and he himself said that he wasn't ready. Yeah, so what I was referring to was before camp, I don't know, I did that in an accent, before camp, he did say that it was his goal to make the team, right? You can say a lot of things, and you can really want something and just know that you're not ready at the same time. I think that the self-awareness that he has just exhibits that he is maturing, and that he does know that this isn't, a sprint. It's more like a marathon, maybe a 5K even. But you cannot expect him, to be ready after one training camp, not even a full training camp. And the nice thing is with the Thunderbirds, they play a game tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, by the way, October 2nd. He's going to have that experience. And he did look lost out there. I did say this in numerous episodes that he just wasn't standing out. He was getting pushed around. And when you're trying to make the team, especially at a camp, you really need to be strong, kind of like how Bold Duke is playing. You need to just stand out in a positive way. So I don't take this as a setback for him. I don't take this as, this is awful. I take this as, hey, I feel badly for the kid, because obviously he wanted to make the team. However, I am excited about the opportunities that he will have in Springfield, the opportunities for him to get more minutes on the ice, for him to adjust, for him to get used to the system. And then eventually he will earn a spot playing up here in St. Louis. I do see him still as a huge factor in the Blues' future. And that hasn't changed because he's getting sent down to the AHL affiliate team. It actually is a positive because it means that this organization wants to develop him correctly. I mean, think about it like this. Imagine if they just kept him for the sake of keeping him. He's not getting a lot of minutes on the ice. He's struggling. His game's not growing. And that's how players fail. That's how players fizzle out. And I've seen that happen in the NHL before. I've seen prospects that, get on the NHL roster too soon. They can't handle it. And, it creates a lot of issues, right? Mentally, they have like these mental blocks where they think they are not able to accomplish what they want to. It becomes a whole issue. So going back to what I was originally saying, the Blues did the right thing. And again, he's 19. He is 19 years old. He's so young and has plenty of time to really continue to develop his game, get stronger, build that muscle. I think for him, adding more muscle too is important. So that's another thing. Dan says Dvorsky should have made the team. He needs to work on scoring. If he scores goals, he can also have his moments. So here's the thing. And I said this was going to be a conversation prior, to Dvorsky getting cut. I said, I'm sure that conversation will be brought up where people say he should have made the team and it's going to be a whole debate. Here's the thing. I just told you devil's advocate. What if he made the team and he ended up not playing well? Because most likely that would happen. You're not going to not shine in preseason and then all of a sudden shine in the regular season. That's not how it works at all. Actually, that's really not how it works. I think that with Dvorsky, the key to having him grow, the key to him developing is repetition, getting comfortable, getting more physical on the ice. And I think that it's going to take time to do that. I understand, though, the other hand, because when he does score, it is great. And, we see some of his stick handling skills. Like, we see the goods in him, okay? And there is no denying that. There is a reason why he was drafted 10th overall, because of his talent on the ice. Even in juniors, we saw what he could do. However, what I will say, and I'm going to say this again, I just needed to see more out of him, and I'm sure that the coaches felt that way. I mean, I know when Drew Bannister talked about him, he just said he wasn't ready yet. I'm sure Doug feels the same way. He wasn't ready yet. And again, I'm a huge fan of Tyler Tucker, and I've talked about him prior. Yeah, does it suck that he may not make the team this season? Absolutely, there's always that chance. But he did get caught up last season a good amount. I mean, you've had players get caught up. I mean, look at Matthew Kessel. He got caught up last season. Just because you don't make the roster on opening night doesn't mean that you're not going to wear the blue note. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of wearing the blue note. It just means that it takes time. Nobody is looking at Dvorsky and saying, oh, yeah, this is an AHL-only player. No, nobody is looking at him like that. But I think this also just goes to show how the Blues and how, the staff and management truly does care about his growth, because they're putting him in a position to be successful. Letting him play with the Thunderbirds allows him to gain success. It allows him to gain that confidence. So there is no negatives to him playing with the Thunderbirds. I mean, listen, maybe behind closed doors, he's like, oh, this sucks. I wanted to be here. And I get that. That's an athlete's mentality. I'm around hockey enough to know that some of the guys do get a little bit frustrated, right? Just in general. However, I think that this was the right move, and you have to really applaud what the Blues' management, what the Blues' staff has done, because they were very vocal to media, in general, saying, hey, we are not going to fail him. From day one, before camp began, Doug Armstrong said we are not going to fail his development. So I think taking that all into factor, you can kind of come up with the conclusion of, oh, okay, there is a reason why, and this is not a negative. This is a positive. I can guarantee you that. So we talked about Dvorsky again. We talked about some of the line combinations. But I think we're not talking about something that is kind of important. And you might be wondering, Hale, what could that be? Game time. So no, I will be talking to you about, NHL season and all that. But Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. One thing that I love about Game Time Picks is the super deal and how good it really is. It literally just shows you the best deal. It shows you the best seat, the best price, everything kind of curated right to you, which I'm a huge fan of because your girl hates searching on things. And I just click one button and I'm like, oh, that was easy. So I'm a huge fan. You can also see your seat view before you buy your tickets, like always. And of course, Game Time has the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, and job loss protection as well. So this is what I need you to do. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So 1 week from today, the St. Louis Blues play regular season hockey, and I'm not nervous. However, it's not the Blues that make me nervous, okay? And it's not Seattle, by the way. Like, I just wanted to put that out there. It's definitely not Seattle. I mean, Seattle, they look good, cool, but that's not what I'm nervous about. It is the Central Division. I hate it. Not because I love, the division. It's fun, competitive, woohoo, but it is because of one team and one team only that makes me hate this division. The Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators, of course, they had to get Stamkos and all these talented players. So now when you look at, the preseason, projections, predictions, all of that stuff, they're all ahead of the Blues. But I'm going to give you my Central Division outcome because I love doing this stuff. And I just want to give like a prediction because I want to look back. This is something I didn't do last season and I kind of regretted it because I wish I had an episode where I gave a little bit of a prediction for funsies at the end of an episode and I was able to then talk about if I was right or not right at the end of the season. So let's go do my predictions. So obviously in the Central, we have the Blackhawks, the Avs, the Stars, Wild Preds, Blues, Utah, and Jets. Who do I think is going to be the top four? I'm going to actually rank all the Central Division. So number 1 this season, I actually have Dallas. Followed by Dallas, I have the Avalanche. Followed by the Avalanche, I do have the Nashville Predators. Then I have the Blues. Then the Jets. Then Utah. Then the Wild. And then the Blackhawks. So that is my prediction. I think Utah's going to be playing a lot better than maybe we expect them to. I mean, they have Logan Cooley, and he is a fabulous player. But besides, Utah, the Wild, they're just in a really weird situation. I mean, with their whole goalie situation, all of it. And I can't say the Wild are going to do amazing, right? The Jets, it's not that I don't think the Jets are a good team. I think they are a good team. But what I saw in the Stanley Cup playoffs the past season just kind of made me not so sure about them. Again, this is why there's so many other great hosts that cover these teams with the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm just giving out my little predictions. I think Dallas is hands down the best team in the Central Division, which I hate. But again, I know Joey does a great job, and we talked about it, and they just have tremendous talent, even though they can't seem to be winning a cup. Let's go Blues. Then the Avalanche, same thing, good team. So that's what I think. I do think, too, that the Blues are going to get into the playoffs this season with the second wild card spot. I know what you're going to say. Oh, well, wouldn't they make it in if they finish third? Okay, that's just me being optimistic. But realistically, if I had to guess, it'd be second wild card spot or first wild card spot out of the West. I guess we shall see. I'm kind of like, I'm being like a hypocrite kind of, right? I don't know. All I know is Blues are going to be in the playoffs. Blues are going to finish a lot better than we think in the Central. And I think that the Nashville Predators are going to be really good. And I'm absolutely hating that because Captain Braden Shen's brother, Luke Shen, is on the Predators. So, yeah, Shen's on top. All right. I will talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.